Well, are you guys ready to hear talks now? Right? The favorite part of any program. So I think Dr. Fox forgot to mention one more great things he did was calling for AI cluster, and I was the first hire. So thank you for doing that. And that's why you are here today. All right. I have the pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Gyami Shrestha. So Dr. Shrestha is recognized as a leader at the intersection of different agencies. So you are going to hear a lot about the experience she had running different programs. Sometimes those programs are running for multiple decades. So she led a program of the interagency of U.S. Carbon Cycle Science Program, and that in that role, I know she led a lot of policies as well as policy-driven work. We heard a lot about how agriculture, artificial intelligence, and natural resources they are all tied together. And in her role, Dr. Shrestha dealt a lot with that, especially what is happening in the U.S. More recently, she also held the position of USDA ANIFA Data Science and Agricultural Food Systems Program Leader. So for this community, I know that TSFA's program is one of the go-to. So if you have questions, Dr. Shrestha will be available to share experience, what worked, what did not work, but today, I think we are going to kick off the meeting by learning from her role in advisory world, the interagency, government, consulting. She had touched many aspects of AI, agriculture, and environment in general. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Shrestha on board. Um, oops.
Right. How is everyone? Launch was great. Thank you so much. And thank you, NCSU and Dr. Sihi, Dan, Dr. Jones, and all the organizing committee for this amazing conference and culmination of amazing minds. How many of you are AI experts? Great, great. Uh, I'm not. I'm not an AI expert. So I have written remarks, but I'll try to be as natural as I can. And I did use some AI for this talk since it's an AI conference. So I hope that maybe you can identify where. I'm sure it's pretty easy. So over 4 years ago, I had the privilege of working with a retired, very senior government administrator who at that time was advising a very avant-garde weather data and AI company. He's an amazing person. Sometime after that, I received an offer to apply to that company as an AI strategic advisor in the Earth System Science space, and I declined because one, I told myself I'm not an AI expert. An AI engineer should be better for that role. And two, I was seriously considering a dream job at USDA NIFA. And I accepted a dream job at USDA NIFA. Shortly after joining, my supervisor, he told me, I've decided you're going to be in charge of this amazing program called Data Science for Agriculture Systems, which comprises significant funding for AI. And I told him, I don't think I should. I'm not an AI expert. But his response then was, no one is yet. Uh, so I had the distinct honor to run that funding program for some time, and during that period, I realized. We don't have for a data science and AI program. We need more data on how this program has really impacted the communities and really the different grantees over the years. So through a few weeks of teamwork across the agency, we ran through some old data, new data, and all that, and we found out that the program had been effective, and NCSU was actually one of the major recipients for during a period of 6 years. So congratulations, NCSU! You're all like, pretty advanced in the data science and AI sector, and your people, your team has been successful, and I hope you'll be more successful in the future in these government funding, and also certainly having decision makers and team members pushing and really advocating for you at the federal, state, and various decision making levels. That's certainly very, very, very helpful. But yeah, so I I hope this is a good way to begin a conversation where really I'm not an AI expert. I've been learning over the years, and really I'll be speaking about my personal learnings regarding AI in agriculture, and we'll take you along an exercise in rethinking AI for the future of agriculture. I hope you will enjoy this perspective shaped by some of my own experiences in policy practice and what I've been hearing from many of you here and around the world. So, okay, where did I go? This should have been the last. All right. So for over 15 years, I've navigated, studied, and sometimes questioned the ways of science and tech investments and prioritization across multiple agencies. As the director of the Interagency US Carbon Cycle Science Program Office, for 11 years, I've worked with over 12 to 13 different agencies, their grantees, and various stakeholders. Also, over the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to see AI in agriculture from a unique vantage point. And as I mentioned, during my time at USDA and IFA, I directed and evaluated AI efforts across the country. And these efforts spanned more than 100 institutions across 40 states, touching everything from supply chains to climate to rural development. Between 2018 and 2024, over 58 millions had been awarded to over 106 projects, covering all USDA priorities over those years. By the time I left USDA, I was ready to run peer review panels for a record number of applications, over 200, submitted by many of you, I'm sure, in the audience. And I saw many promising AI innovations emerging from universities, startups, and multi-sector collaborations. At the same time, I've been engaging with many of you through conversations, different collaborations, and most recently, 2 LinkedIn polls in preparation for this meeting. So during those interactions and conversations, what struck me is AI in agriculture looks very different depending on where you stand. We all feel it. What do we do about it? From a national level, we see momentum, investments, innovations. From the ground level, we often see fragmentation, uncertainty, and uneven adoption. The gap between those 2 perspectives is where I want to focus today. Let me start with this community, with what some of my colleagues and community members told me during a recent poll that I started on LinkedIn. So please feel free to add me on LinkedIn, by the way, if you want to speak with me later. In one poll, I asked, what might be the biggest overstatement about AI in agriculture? The responses were interesting. Not one single narrative dominated. So I asked, could the overstatement be that more data equals better decisions? Will AI solve all our climate risks, for instance? Or do farmers just need real or better AI? How many of you think that, by the way? Do farmers just need better AI? Is that like an overstatement? Okay, Just trying to ask everyone. So yeah, so not a single narrative dominated in the responses. That tells me something important. There is a growing skepticism, not about AI itself, but about how we are talking about it. And in another poll, I asked, if AI changes agriculture, what will change first? How many do you think farm level decision making will change first if AI changes agriculture? Okay. How many think US agriculture competitiveness is going to change with AI? It's going to be impacted the most. Okay. Thanks for raising the hand. I know we all had a very good lunch, I know, so trying to keep it excited. Well, in the responses from my network, what I heard is that farm level decision making clearly rose to the top. That's what people thought, is going to be the first impacted with AI. And that suggests that many see AI having its earliest and most meaningful impact, not at the system level, but at the point of day to day decisions on the ground. At the same time, nearly half the responses that are received indicated broader structural issues, such as data ownership and system-wide change being impacted by AI. So there's an important tension. Will AI in agriculture be shaped from the ground up through better decisions at the farm level, or from the top down through data, systems, and markets? In my previous roles, I had the opportunity to work across agencies and disciplines, very different types of disciplines. I worked with teams across NASA, NOAA, DOE, USDA, NSF, and many others to coordinate science, data, and policy priorities, not prescribing policies, but informing policies. We brought together hundreds of researchers and practitioners. We evaluated tens of millions of dollars in investments. What we learned was not just about science and technology, it was about coordination needs, it was about alignment. And now, in my recent interactions and budding collaborations as a private, non federal person, as a consultant, I'm seeing this from a different perspective. For instance, I talking with some organizations and companies such as Farm.gov or Carbon Country LLC, people that I've only recently met and possibly going to be engaging in fruitful collaborations. These collaborations are bringing together very different disciplines, experiences, and communities. And really, this really stresses again to me and again and to all of us when we see like all of you have all these collaborations happening too in the AI and agriculture sector. Innovations are amplified at the intersection of very often very different people and groups working together, brainstorming and solving problems together. Additionally, from what I've seen across federal programs, interagency coordination, and recent collaborations, I've come to realize AI in agriculture is not a tech challenge, it's a systems challenge. And I hope that many of you also think that way and feel that way. We are generating more data than ever before. We are building more sophisticated models. We are investing millions of dollars, billions of dollars maybe, into innovation. And yet, tools do not always talk to each other. Data is not always accessible or trusted, and adoption of AI in ag is not consistent. Outcomes are uneven. So I would offer this. We are advancing technology faster than we are aligning systems. Are we? Recently, I spoke with three very different types of people. A farmer who is influencing state-level policies, a farmer global fixer turned AI for farmers champion, and a businessman trying to integrate satellite weather data with in situ ecosystem data events. data to minimize the impacts of extreme events. They spoke of different types of AI-based dashboards that farmers, producers, and supply chain agents could utilize in one device to solve their problems. These are all smart tools, but how many of them talk to each other? And for what purpose, really, in the long run? These different conversations and moments reflect a broader issue. We are not building systems yet, it seems. We are building intelligent silos. Has AI made it easier to build more silos in the ag or the AI in ag or ag sector? This is not a tech challenge, is it? I mean, it is in many instances, in most instances, but is it really? It's a system challenge in many instances. Tools optimize tasks, systems align everything. If systems are not aligned, it will not last. As I continue this talk, this keynote with you, I'm continuing to reflect on this balance between local needs and system level design. From my experience assessing AI and other science and tech investments across the country and sometimes globally, one thing is becoming clear. If solutions do not work at the farm level, they will not scale. But if systems are not aligned, even the best tools will remain limited. If it does not work at the farm level, it will not scale. If systems are not aligned, none of these tech innovations will last. So be it in rural North Carolina, this beautiful state, or rural Nepal, where I'm originally from, trust must be earned. We all know that. The best AI will not succeed without continued brainstorming and innovations and on-the-ground partnerships with farmers, producers, suppliers, from so on and so forth, from the inception and planning phases. So I would offer 3 suggestions for where we could go next. Design for real-world variability. So agriculture is not uniform, it's local, it's variable, it's context-specific. There are micro weather situations in many places. AI systems do not reflect this reality. If the AI systems do not reflect this reality, we will all struggle. If it does not work at the farm level, it will not scale, as I mentioned earlier. And second recommendation, build more across disciplines and experiences. We need engineers, farmers, economists, social scientists, ecologists, policymakers, boundary integrators, communities, all at the same planning, decision-making, and implementation tables. At the same farm, at the same production facility, and supply chain cycle deliberations. Not sequentially, but together. Because the challenges we are solving are no longer technical alone in the AI and ag sector. They are social, economic, and environmental. And we all know that, right? But let's remind ourselves this more often. And the third, really aligning incentives and not just the tech. Funding, policy, and markets must work together, and adoption should be earned. It is earned through trust, through value, and through relevance. And some advice on funding and collaborations. For those of us seeking to expand your work in AI for ag, especially in funding and partnerships, I would offer a few practical suggestions based on what I've seen and experienced. Think beyond your disciplines early. The strongest proposals and collaborations I've seen were never single disciplines, and they were integrated from the very beginning. Also, we all need to engage stakeholders before we write our proposals, not after. This includes producers, extensions, communities, farmers. So there's a need, we have to align with national and regional priorities. As you know, these are always in flux, nationally, state level, local levels. So whether it's climate or supply chains or rural development, these alignments matter. And we need to be flexible and nimble and really be accepting of different changes. Change is always constant. So building partnerships that are real and not symbolic is really essential. And review panels and also program managers or any of these judges, deciders of your funding, it's pretty obvious when the partnerships are just symbolic. So we all need to focus on outcomes and not just the innovation of the AI. What changes and for whom and at what scales, and most importantly, don't never wait for the perfect alignment. Start building your networks now, and we should all start building our networks now. And finally, as I've moved from federal programs into new collaborations, I've had the opportunity to work with very different partners, and I'm also exploring new ones, from policy to startups to community-focused initiatives. What I'm saying is that the most meaningful progress is not happening in isolation, never. It's happening when very different perspectives and people come together, when engineers talk to producers, when policymakers listen to practitioners, and when data meets real-world context. And that keeps us all optimistic. But it also raises the responsibility for all of us here and in the AI for ag sectors. Because over the next days, I'm really looking forward to learning about all these innovations and exciting projects and activities that we're all involved in. And the question is not whether AI will shape agriculture, it already is, right? So, but the question is, who is this working for? And where is it working or not working? And should it be used everywhere or not? Are we designing systems that allow this AI to work better for all of us? So I will leave you with all of this. Are we, again, building AI tools, or are we designing AI systems for agriculture? Are we preparing for an AI future where all Earth systems and sectors are seamlessly connected? Thank you, and feel free to connect with me later. Oh, yes.
Number 7. Oh, no, let me get to the questions. Questions, anybody?
I could have used my full 40 minutes, but I decided to keep it shorter. I hope it was good. There's a question here.
Is this, oh, there we go. I loved how you mentioned systems thinking and stakeholder engagement and engaging stakeholders before submitting funding opportunities. But how would you also recommend interweaving stakeholder engagement throughout the project process and framing that as an iterative, collaborative effort?
Love this question and comment. Yeah, definitely keeping it iterative is important. And as you work on your projects or any design ideas, maybe you think of, oh, maybe we forgot this person. So definitely, I think there's always space for that, and we should be doing that. And that's how, I think lots of project management principles also talk about that. So thank you. And please say your names when you ask a question also. I'd love to know you.
I'm Katie Sanders, Assistant Professor and Extension Specialist at NC State.
Nice to meet you, Katie.
Frank Clemens, Big Idea Ventures. I think there's a room full of great people in here, very intelligent. We should come out with one system that everybody then builds off of. That's the only way we're going to win in America. I see what's happening in China. They're going to wipe us real soon in this whole area. Didn't even mention that, and I think you should have, because that's something we are going to have to fight against. And what we really need to do here is to come together, that we have one, like in Microsoft. That's how Microsoft did very well, and that's how Apple has done very well. There's one operating, one system that does it, and you build onto it. And I think we have all the experts in the room here. We should be able to come to that. What does that look like? What's your feeling on that?
Great question and comment again. Thank you. So I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and really, if you go to any conference or meeting, people are talking about this, the competitiveness, what's happening with China, and what may happen in the future if we don't really accelerate what we should be doing. Maybe we're doing it, but maybe we need to accelerate as a system. I wholly agree with that. And maybe there'll be other discussions in the next 2 days around this topic. But yeah, I'm happy to chat more.
Over here, I guess. Dennis Buckmaster at Purdue University. So you mentioned the interoperability, and I missed the opportunity to take a picture of that slide because we just talked about that over lunch. What's your perspective? Can AI help us with the interoperability of this platform, that platform, writing the APIs for us, things like that? What's your take on that?
I think for sure, it should. If we should be, we're using the word leverage. We should be leveraging AI to improve interoperability. Again, having a hard time saying the word. And if we're not doing that already, then we should. I mean, these are, AI is a tool. We have to use it to improve on those problems that we have. And I hope to learn more about that. I'm sure many of you are working on those problems now. I hope so.
Hi, this is Brenda Ortiz, professor and extension specialist at Auburn University. You were at NIFA. What could be the right balance, if there is a right balance, between the work that is being done with the startups and the universities? I know NC State has a great example that we saw at the Plant Science Building, but I am a faculty. We keep sometimes doing things that others are already being done. So how you see that intersection and that cross-pollination, if we can use that word?
Hi, Brenda. So are you asking about coordination among startups and universities, or
more collaboration? You are right now outside the government, but you saw the things that sometimes we propose and the startups propose, under SBRI. So what is your recommendation for us, startups, industry, and university? Because there is duplication.
Yes, there is duplication, and lots of times duplication is a great thing, right? Lots of times, yeah, you'd think, that amount of money would have a higher impact if people actually work together, started planning, right? Like startups, academics, industry, all this maybe planned, maybe a jumbo proposal together and submitted it for consideration to whether it be the federal agency or a philanthropy, right? Again, that's my recommendation, that people in conferences like this really talk to each other more, find out, hey, I'm interested in this and I'm working on this too. And the same with different program managers at different agencies, right? So for many years, I ran an interagency program, and one of my key roles was ready to bring in program managers and senior executives from different agencies together regularly to talk to each other, find out, hey, what are you working on? Hey, I'm working on this. Hey, I didn't know that. Let's work together, maybe on a joint proposal. This would really benefit all the grantees and potential grantees, and they don't have to maybe submit multiple proposals to different agencies for the same work. So that's an example. And some of these conversations, some of these collaborations work really well. And I've also heard complaints from people saying, hey, but then it also, brings down the potential awards that people could actually apply for. So really, it takes a lot of attention and responsible, I would say, responsible attention to how some of these taxpayer dollars are used. When you think about federal funding or maybe state level funding or maybe local level funding, and really encouraging people to at the funding level to really get their heads together and think about ways to really support these research ecosystems, researchers and different, everybody who's impacted by the research, thinking about the outcome. Is it just for the research for the sake of research, which is great in many instances, but in the case of maybe applied science or AI in ag, it has to be something that's, I think should be outcome oriented. What is it for? I mean, who's the end user? Who's this going to be benefiting? And now we're already including those people in the room while developing those proposals, or is this money really going to be benefiting these people at the end, or these communities at the end? I hope I answered those questions, but happy to chat more.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Elizabeth Stahlberg. I'm with Lewis Burke Associates. Thank you so much for this talk. I have to say, when you said you see all these silos, I was thinking I'm not even a little bit surprised. I hear from so many researchers that they put together a vast interdisciplinary team of people from across the country, and they just get this big collaboration set up, and then their funding runs out. It's just, there's not enough to keep such a big collaboration in agriculture anyway, in agriculture research, sustained. And without that big collaboration, there's no easy way to have, for example, one shining star of a platform for everyone to go to. And there's no federal support there. So I'm wondering, do you think it's going to be different with AI, and why?
Yes, thanks for the great question. Even thinking of the past year, think of how much AI has expanded everybody's skills, and how much faster we can do some of the work that maybe would take us weeks before. For instance, if I'm trying to find out, what are all the grants that are out there to fund AI in ag, right? So it's much faster, but there are issues, right, with hallucinations, and and if you're not already in the field, then sometimes you can't really tell whether something is really correct, right? What's coming out of there. So being really careful is important. But my point is, yes, we have these big teams coming together. Maybe they receive funding for something huge also, and maybe the funding run out. In the future, again, observing the speed and the scale of the development of AI and AI in ag, I can, I think we can see, I could see two different futures where things get worse because the funders might say, hey, you don't really need that much money to do this particular analysis or to run these experiments anymore. Like, get rid of the people, right? Just bad, really. And then the other side is maybe we can really do more, keep all the people, all the members of the team, and to do more research. And I think in terms of, I think you're probably asking about amount of funding that might be available in the future. And I think the way, again, I don't want to prescribe policies, and I want to stay apolitical. I'm very bipartisan in that way. We should be. Like, I think it would be best if there is some, I would say, bi-directional information exchange, where, for instance, a funder like the government should be working with maybe NTSU and other past and future potential grantees of AI in ag, asking these questions. Hey, how should we proceed in the future in terms of funding this type of work? And the government does that really well. The federal government and other government entities, where we do these federal register notices. We do. I mean, when I was in government, right, we used to do federal register notices, and the government still does. And I think it's really upon all of us who maybe are outside the government now and or have been for several years, really to speak to the government and really, reach out to decision makers and to Benji and others who are really advocating for people, really, like, I think all of you have big ideas about how things can be or should be done better in a way that really benefits societies and the environment, and not just the AI, right? Yes, we need to innovate. We need to be a great nation, but we can't forget about the people who are part of all this. So please, please speak up and please advise the decision makers, and please support them. I mean, when they're working on your behalfs. And I'm looking at the person like Benji. I think he did great earlier, by the way.
So let's give Dr. Shrestha another round of applause.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
And that's the token of love for us.